Hey everyone, welcome back to Assetto Corsa and the Shutoko Revival Project. This map brings to life the golden age of the Tokyo Expressway, allowing all us JDM nerds to live the Wangan dream. And lately, SRP has taken things to the next level. Now, I've covered this mod before, a few years back when SRP was on version 0.8. But now, version 0.92 is in public beta, and so much has changed over the past 2 years. So let's take a look at where Assetto Corsa's craziest mod is now. For starters, if you haven't been keeping a super close eye on Assetto Corsa in general, CSP and Soul, the two major mods just about everybody runs, have had some massive advancements, and now make SRP look and drive so much better, without even considering how much SRP itself has changed. There have been literally hundreds of performance, visual, and quality of life fixes added to Assetto Corsa as a whole over the past couple years, and these improvements all help to make SRP a much better experience. You can change the color of your cars in-game in a server now, see player names in VR, which was a big problem for me, add tons of new graphical effects, and one of the biggest improvements, in my opinion, is that on the newest CSP patches, your car no longer shakes or vibrates at a standstill while you're loaded into big maps. This was an issue where the game engine just wasn't designed with such huge open world environments in mind, and so the further you drove away from the center point of the map, the less accurate the game was able to measure your location, and your car would just kinda shake around in place. That issue is fixed now though, and cars actually drive how they should without shaking around on these bigger map mods, which of course greatly improves the immersion and online experience in SRP. Also, weather has taken some huge leaps forward with the Soul and now Pure mods. Lighting and weather effects are super natural and lifelike now, and in VR especially, this is huge. Lighting plays such a big role in your immersion, especially in VR, and these environments are now lit so well in VR it's scary. Driving in the rain or heavy fog, for example, is an unparalleled experience, and I think the visuals do speak for themselves, but the feeling of actually sitting in this car and driving it along the Tokyo Expressway in VR is sublime. So again, even without the SRP mod itself making any changes, Assetto's supporting mods have seen massive improvements over the past couple years and have made the SRP experience just that much better. But of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg, because SRP has changed. It has changed a lot. For starters, official online servers have been improved with player capacity increasing across the board, so more players can be cruising and sharing the same world all at once. There are also now two main server styles, one for faster cars, more what you'll be familiar with if you played a while back, and another set of servers for slower, more street-style cars, which I actually find really enjoyable. Maybe this comes as a bit of a self-own, but it feels a bit more realistic to what I'm used to driving, and they even have a Mark III Supra. The car lists for each of these servers have been refined and expanded, and now, at least from my perspective, all of the modded cars in these car packs are high quality, dialed in, and fun to drive. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, a feature you've already been seeing in the footage here. Official servers now have traffic, and this has changed everything about how these servers play. Back when I first got this mod, there wasn't a single traffic car on any of the roads, and while a few mildly decent third-party traffic mods did exist, none of them matched the quality of what we have now on the official SRP servers. We've got a good handful of realistic Japanese traffic cars that you'll find driving on most of SRP's main highway network, and it makes the gameplay so much more intense and realistic. Now, instead of just flying at wide open throttle on the open road, you're dodging and weaving in between traffic, having to hit the brakes, change gears, and then slam on the throttle again to get back up to speed. It makes chases so much more dynamic and exciting, and in a way keeps things more balanced between different drivers and cars. It's harder, for example, for a lead driver to get away, because they'll often have to slow down and wait wait for traffic for a few seconds, giving the chase driver time to catch up, close the gap, and kind of reset the race a bit. It just makes the whole driving experience so much more polished and dynamic and enjoyable. And on top of that, if racing isn't what you're in the mood for, traffic just makes slow or solo cruising way more fun too. Because again, you aren't just sitting there on an empty road, you're still changing lanes, driving through traffic, and maybe giving it a bit of a pull in between gaps in the other cars. I said back when I first played this mod in 0.8 that SRP just does such a good job of being a platform to recreate real car culture and what it's like to be in an actual car cruise or highway race. But I had no idea how much traffic would add to that experience, because they nailed it now. This is all the fun of street racing and cruises without any of the risk. One more thing about traffic that I want to mention before we move on is that it obviously adds so much more life to the map as well. It definitely felt pretty lonely driving the streets of Tokyo at night when there weren't any other cars around. The map felt suspiciously deserted, which for one of the biggest cities in the world was weird. So the traffic that's here now really helps to populate the city so that even when you're cruising on your own, you still feel like you're in a huge lived-in world. And that's not the only change the SRP devs have made to make the map feel more alive. There is now an active train network that travels around the map and ships you'll see moving around in the bay. I absolutely love little changes like this because obviously it does nothing to the second-to-second driving experience, but whenever a passing train or ship catches your eye while you're driving around, it just sinks you right into the world that much more. Now, of course, over the past few years, many areas of the world have been improved. Textures have been reworked, new details have been added to existing buildings, and entirely new unique landmarks have been added to the map. Early on in the mod's life, a lot of buildings off to the side of the road were pretty bland and generic, but now they have lit up signs, unique materials, billboards, and more plastered all over, and the different areas of Tokyo are starting to really take shape and feel like their own unique districts. The road textures have been improved as well with a lot more detail, and that detail carries over to the driving experience, because not only are the textures more detailed, the physical road surface is too. Now, when driving SRP, you will feel minor imperfections in the road surface. You can feel it in the wheel when you pass over a drainage channel or the expansion joints on the road, and like with the traffic, this was just something I didn't realize I was missing so much. The road surface used to be so sterile, it felt like a video game. But you don't have perfect road surfaces in real life. There are little bumps and surface changes. And now you can feel that when driving SRP, and it adds so much depth to the experience. Of course though, on top of just changing some things with existing locations, entirely new locations have been added as well. And I am so excited to see Shinjuku, and now in public beta, Shibuya, both in SRP. Shinjuku has been in the game for a little while now, but this area has a very special place in my heart because, as you guys probably know by now, I did spend some time in Japan, and I've walked around and driven on these exact streets dozens of times. So to be able to return back in VR in the same car I drove while I was there is a magical experience. It's kind of funny to me that in a mod all about highways, some of my favorite parts are when you're able to pull off the main road and get to slow down and check things out more at ground level. Now, like I said, Shinjuku has been here for a little while, but now in public beta is Shibuya, an area with a pretty similar vibe just a bit south of Shinjuku, and one that houses a very famous landmark, the Shibuya Crossing. You've no doubt seen pictures of hundreds of people crossing the street here, and for my Fast and Furious fans, this is the exact intersection they drift through in one of the more iconic scenes of Tokyo Drift. So of course, this is a pretty cool spot for car nerds. And like with Shinjuku and the other pull-off areas, it's just a fun spot to get a bit of a break, maybe take some photos with your group, or do some donuts in the crossing before jumping back onto the highway. So all in all, the Shutoko Revival project used to feel pretty rough around the edges. The experience was there, and you could see through some of the more bare bones implementation and lack of polish, but now with the 0.92 beta, SRP is really starting to see that level of polish as it inches ever nearer to a complete 1.0 experience. I am so excited to see this mod continue to flourish. If you haven't checked this out yet and you want to, they do have a great install guide I'll link here in the description, and they also have a Patreon if you feel like supporting the people who helped make this what it is today. I can't wait to see what the future brings for SRP and the AC modding scene as a whole. We no doubt have an exciting future ahead of us. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.